Hi everyone, I'm Chris Moyes. This is the Vinyl Orchard. Welcome to another video. Thank you for popping by. Now today I'm going to share with you some of the records that I've picked up over the last couple of months. I don't buy as much as I used to. You know, I have a limited amount of space on both sides of this room. The racks are full, and so I don't really want to add many more to it, I suppose, because, you know, I have difficulty enough listening to the stuff that I've got, so adding to it seems a little bit nonsensical. But I have picked up probably about 8 albums and 3 or 4 singles over the last couple of months, so I thought I'd share those with you today. So first up, a little bit of post-punk, quite classic post-punk actually. This is on Rough Trade. This is the pop group And We Are All Prostitutes, a song about consumerism. And a half decent song too. It's probably one of their best things, I would have said. But yeah, nice to find that, the pop group And We Are All Prostitutes. A couple of charity shop finds. One of them I've got already, but I didn't have it with a football label. This is Back Home by the England football team from 1970, a song that is very dear to my heart. First time I really remember a football kind of tournament and football match was 1970, and I used to love this song because it had my favourite players in it, Jeff Hurst and Bobby Moore and so on. So yeah, great single. That's on Pie Records, and said the football label version of it rather than the standard Pie. And the last one is a theme tune from a TV programme that I loved as a child. It was round about, I think, 71 through to 73, I think. And the programme was called Alias Smith and Jones. It was about two kind of, it was a Western. It was about two kind of outlaws called Hannibal Hayes and Kid Curry, who I think were based on real life characters, but really good. The first series included a guy called Pete Jewell, who sadly committed suicide, I think at the end of the first or the second series, and he was replaced pretty quickly by a guy, I can't remember, is it Roger Davis? Can't remember now, who wasn't as good. Pete Jewell was very good, but I'm guessing he was suffering from depression or whatever, and took his life sadly. But that was a great program, and when I saw that and I played it, I was immediately taken back to the kind of early 70s and watching Alias Smith and Jones on telly. Next up is an album by two guys I don't know much about, other than the fact that one of the guys, Danny Gatton, also committed suicide through depression. So sad story really, but two kind of blues players. I think Danny Gatton is more of a kind of a redneck jazz kind of player, but the other guy is Tom Principato. And this is an album called Blazing Telecasters, a live album recorded in 1984, and it's a kind of a mixture of blues and kind of jazz, and I said redneck jazz as well. But there's there's a sort of really jazzy song called Cherokee on here. Honey Hush is good. There's some really good kind of instrumental passages with kind of guitar trade-offs. Yeah, two obviously very, very competent guitarists playing their hardest on a Telecaster. So there we are, Blazing Telecasters, Tom Principato and Danny Gatton. Next up is an album by a band I know nothing really about other than the fact they're French. I don't know how many albums they did, actually. I've no idea at all. But this particular album had a hit single from it. It's an instrumental album, and it's by French band Space, and this is called Magic Fly. And back in 77, Magic Fly was a pretty big song. Now I think this did pretty well in the UK. I might have said it might have even been top 10 album. It certainly was a top 10 single, and I think it was a #1 in France. They are a French band. And the last song, which is Carry On, Turn Me Away, I'm pretty sure when I heard that, I'm pretty sure that was used, or something like it was used, at the Paris Olympics that's just passed. So yeah, it's okay. It's kind of disco, electric pop, synth pop kind of stuff, but you know, cheap as chips and interesting for it. Next up is I did a video recently on can American bands do prog. I think they can, and this band are just a yes copyist band, and this is Starcastle, and this is Fountains of Light. It's on Epic Records. This is from 1977, and the lead singer, what's his name? Terry Luttrell just sounds like John Anderson, and this is a very Yes sounding band, and I think they were easily dismissed because they were just trying to copy that sound, and it's in, you know, even the bass sounds a bit Chris Squire-esque, and certainly the guitar very Steve Howish, but the vocals, wow, it just sounds like John Anderson. So but I like it actually, and that's Fountains of Light by Starcastle from '77. I've been looking for this album for a while because it kind of, I don't think it completes my collection of this band, but it's very, very close. I think there's just one later album which I'm not bothered if I haven't got because it's not very good, but I do really like this. This is the debut album of 10 Years After. That's Alvin Lee's band. Now, he obviously made his name at the Woodstock Festival in '69, but was obviously had albums out before it, and this is their debut. The first two tracks I think are especially good. I Want to Know and I Can't Keep From Crying Sometimes, which is now Cooper's song, which is just brilliant. I also like their version of Help Me, which is Sonny Boy Williamson, I think. But yeah, this is a really good bluesy album, and not as kind of contrived maybe as some of the later stuff. I'm probably going to do a little favourite 5 video, so my favourite 5 records by this band, albums and tracks in some kind of order. But I really like this album, and I like this band. I don't think their albums are consistent enough. They've got one that's very consistent, but they're a little bit patchy at times. But I do really enjoy this, and for me it's just worth it for I Can't Keep From Crying Sometimes, which I love. Next up is an album I've been looking for ages. So I love the new wave of British heavy metal. I was a teenager during that time. I saw a lot of those bands, either as support acts or headlining acts. And I've got a lot of, and in fact, they're right, I don't think you probably can't see them, but they're right at the top there, at least a cube's amount of new wave of British heavy metal artists. And amongst that is a few compilation albums, so Metal for Mothers, New Electric Warriors, what's the other one? Not Precious Metal, there's another one, can't remember what it is now. But I've been looking for this one for ages, and it's Heavy Metal Heroes. Now, that is a really bad cover, isn't it? I mean, that's a horrendous cover. That's the sort of thing that a really bad Year 9 art lesson would produce. It's probably, Year 9s would probably produce much better than that. It's dreadful, but it's quite an interesting album. It's a real historical document. These are lots of bands that, probably never had album deals. The only time they ever appeared on vinyl maybe was on a compilation and the odd self-financed single. But we've got Twisted Ace, Grim Reaper, Jaguar, Soldier, Bitches Sin, Metal Mirror, Handsome Beast, which features Phil Aston from Now Spinning magazine. Now, I know Phil Aston probably wouldn't be watching this channel, but it's really nice to have something by him on vinyl. I do have a single by Handsome Beast called Breaker Breaker, which he is on as well. So I don't know, Phil, if you're watching this, it's great to have something by you on vinyl. Buffalo, Exposer, Split Beaver, whatever possessed them to think about that as a good name. Dragster and Witchfinder General. Now, I think I might have seen Witchfinder General. It's either them or Witchfind, I'm not sure which. But anyway, there you go. Heavy Metal Heroes. It's on Heavy Metal Records with one of the worst covers ever created in the history of music. As I said, a Year 9 would have been not proud of that. It's dreadful. Next up is a band, again, I don't know much about this band other than the fact they were, I think, originally called the Angels, and in the States there was Angel, and I think they changed their name so there was no kind of complexities about contracts or copyright or whatever. But the band is Angel City, and this is called Face to Face. So an Australian band. And I think this album, it's only £2, this album, for heaven's sake, it's worth it for Take a Long Line. If you just try and stream one song by Angel City, go for Take a Long Line. Now, when I heard that song, when I played this, I thought, yeah, I recognise that, because Mick Ronson did a version of it together with Joe Elliott, I think, and a couple of other players. But and their version is good, but I love the version by Angel City, which is, I think, their own song, in fact. But yeah, it's a little bit in at places like bit like AC/DC, I guess, but some kind of good boogie kind of songs on there. But it's good fun, and as I said, for £2, yeah, you can't go wrong, can you? Next up is an album which is I'm not a massive fan of this guy. I just saw it. It was £7, so a little bit more than I normally pay. But I just thought, should I be interested in this or not? Anyway, I picked it up, and it's Brian Eno, and this is Taking Tiger Mountain. So it's an original first press, if that sort of thing excites you. It's in not bad condition. The vinyl is considerably better than the cover, which is probably a very good rather than a very good plus. The vinyl is better than that. It's okay. I think loosely it's a concept album, possibly. Takes its inspiration, I think, from a Chinese opera or play, possibly. I think it's an album that's sandwiched between the Warm Jets album, whatever that was called, and Another Green World. It's the one that comes in between there. And I think it's possibly the last time that he played kind of poppy stuff. I think Phil Collins is on here. I think Andy Mackay, the saxophonist, from Roxy Music is on. I think he is anyway. But yeah, it's okay. It's one of those. It's kind of possibly a bit too cerebral for me. You know, when I compare it to this kind of stuff. Well, it's a lot more of a thinking man's album, and I don't know if that's really me. But anyway, I thought I'd pick it up as I thought it was a reasonable price. Let me know if you think it isn't. And the last one, now this is an album that I did have in my collection. So I bought the lead-off single from this back in 1977 because I loved the logo, I loved the band. I heard it on possibly John Peel, certainly a rock program. Loved it, bought the single, played it to death, adore it. One of my favourite singles from 77. And then I bought the album. And the album had an inner, and it was a laminate sleeve, but I didn't like it very much. I was quite disappointed, and ultimately I sold it quite a few years later, but for quite a lot of money. And I regret that, actually, because I don't like purging stuff. I do hold on to stuff, probably too much, actually. So I picked this up again and added this into my collection again. It's a second press from 78 rather than an original 77. But that's fine, I can live with that. It's Motorhead's debut. So I was really pleased to put this back into the collection. I like the first sort of, and they did do loads of albums, didn't they? But I like the first kind of 4 or 5 albums by Motorhead, probably up to the time that Fast Eddie left the band, I think, round about that sort of time. So the first 4 or 5 I do quite like. But I do really like the sound. The title track, Motorhead, I think is a classic. Now it's that B-side of Kings of Speed. It's a Hawkwind song, but it's written by Lemmy. It's got this has got Fast Eddie on it, but there was an album in the shop at the same time called On Parole, which they never saw as their debut. That was this. But actually then they said that stuff on Parole really should have been their debut because it was recorded before this. And it has the original lineup of the band that included Larry Wallace from Pink Fairies. He's not on here, but he did write a couple of songs. So, for example, he did write Vibrator, which is the second song. And then there's Lost Johnny, that's a Kilminster Lemmy Kilminster song. Lost Johnny, did Hawkwind do that? I can't remember. Iron Horse, Born to Lose, White Line Fever. What else? Keep Us on the Road, The Watcher, was that a Hawkwind song? Oh, I can't remember. I should know this sort of thing. And their version of Train Kept Her Rolling. I think it's okay. Production's a little bit muddy, and it doesn't sound particularly like Motorhead went on to sound like. But you know, from a kind of historical point of view and a nostalgic point of view, I'm pretty pleased to have that back in the collection. So there you go. There's the stuff that I've picked up recently. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and I'm sure I'll be back sometime with another video. Cheers.